Hi guys, this is Meenu. Welcome back to my channel Story Tale. Today I'm going to be talking about Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I think this is my second time reading a Colleen Hoover book. I did read her book Layla, which I thought was a little bit romantic, but then it turned out to be something else. And even though I liked that book, I was not much impressed by it. I like the story and the love story and everything, but still it was not something that I usually go for. But for many days I have been hearing so much praises about her work. It Ends With Us. It has been so much hyped, so I wanted to give that book a try. But before that, I wanted to try her latest work, and which is Reminders of Him. It has been released, I think, last month, so I wanted to give this book a try first. I think that is one of the best decisions that I've made this year because I totally love that book. Before I go into my deeper review about what I like about that book and what I didn't like about the book, let me tell you a little bit of the synopsis. So the story is about Kenna, who has been in prison for 5 years. She was basically involved in an accident where her boyfriend died, and for that she had to go for prison for 5 years because she was drunk driving and something. At the time of the accident, she was not aware that she was pregnant. That is why she pleaded guilty. But when she realized that she was pregnant, it was already too late. The custody of the child was given to its paternal grandparents, who actually hate her guts. They blame her for their only son's death because she is the one who left him at the accident spot. But after not being able to see her daughter for 5 years because she was in prison, she comes back to the town again to have a chance, or at least get to see her daughter at least once in her life. Of course, that is not gonna be an easy task because they kind of hate Kenna and they do not want DM, who is the daughter, to see her real mother because they are afraid that she is gonna take her away, and also they actually really hate her. They still blame her for the death. That is why they do not want both of them to meet. Things start to get more complicated when Kenna starts to fall in love with Ledger, who has kind of a close relationship with the grandparents and the child. I'm not going to reveal what is the relation, but anyway, that plays a very important role in the story too. So that is something like a twist that comes, so I'm not going to reveal it. It's not a very big twist, but still that is something I'm not going to tell you. You can find it yourself in the book. Ledger is our another main character who falls in love with Kenna the moment that he meets her. At the time when he first saw her, he did not know that Kenna is the main person who was responsible for Scotty's death. When he realizes the truth, what actually happens, and will Kenna be able to meet her daughter or not, will the parents will be able to forgive Kenna or not, are the basic plot of this book. This is not a very complicated story. It's not a very brilliant story, but the way the story has been told, it's such a great way to show each and every character. I loved, I think, every character in this book. I was really intrigued by the layers that everyone has to play. This is a very difficult book to read because it is very heart-wrenching, because there are places that you're just gonna cry because you feel just so helpless and you just feel for every character. You do not think that there's any villain in this book. Everyone is right on their own place, but then again the situation is so much worse that you cannot just deal with it. This book for me, I think, comes in new adult because there are many intimate scenes in this book. The book is also a little bit graphic in a certain scene, so it can be triggering, especially the last, I think, 50 pages of the book. There's this description of the accident, which I think can be very triggering. So if that is something that can trigger you, I'm warning you right now, you can skip that part. But again, that is the main part of the story, so if you skip it, it does not make any sense. So if that is triggering for you, just avoid this book altogether, because there's a lot of talk of accident and there's a little bit talk of the suicide too. So that is something that you have to actually keep in mind. The book has been told from the point of view of our two main characters, which is Ledger and Kenna both, and I actually loved that part. I really loved that we get to know each of their thought process, because Ledger at many stages of this book has to make a very difficult decision, and you kind of feel for him because this is not something that is easy for him. It's not easy to forgive a person who knows is responsible for someone's death who was very close to you, but you can understand what was the circumstances that happened, what is the situation. So of course it takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of kindness to actually forgive that person. I also enjoyed the little bit scenes with the daughter. I think she was really cute, and all her scene was so fresh and everything was just, she was like adored by everyone, so that love can actually be felt through the pages. So I actually like that. Kenna is by far my favorite character. I really loved her in this book. Every scene that we had of her helplessness, you can feel it. She was also poor, so it makes everything very much difficult for her, and she does not know this town. And even though she's a very nice and good person, everyone kind of misunderstands her. Her past has been a very bad past. She has always been unlucky until she met Scotty. He was the only good thing that happened to her, and then he died, and that was also because of her. So her situation is just so much worse, and she has been always unlucky, and everyone kind of misunderstands her. Everyone kind of hates her. She does not have anybody who actually loves her, and if anyone shows her even a little bit of kindness, she kind of gets very emotional and she starts to cry. And I can understand her situation. I don't think I've met a sadder person than Kenna, and it's not because she's a very dull person or something, but everything that has happened to her ever since she was a kid has been something that has actually left a mark on her. Her father was non-existing and her mother was kind of neglecting. She would not care about her daughter or something, even though now that she has reconciled a little bit, but still there are a lot of problems between them. And like I said, Scotty was the only good thing that happened to her. She was so in love with him. He was such a good person. You learn about Scotty through the letters that Kenna write to him after he died, and in those letters you can see how romantic he was, how sweet he was, how much he actually cared about Kenna and his parents and everything. There has been 2 or 3 scenarios where Kenna was actually misjudged by his parents, and that is why they cannot actually like her, and now they do not even like her more. So again, in that situation, it was not actually her fault. That is why you feel very bad for her, because everything is just so messed up for her, and even you cannot find a solution for her. Like, you cannot think, okay, if this thing happens then she's gonna be okay, if this thing happens then she's gonna be okay, because you know that the situation is not easy. It's not gonna be an easy task. It's gonna take a lot of convincing. It's gonna take a lot of courage to actually forgive her for what actually happened. Let's dive a little deeper with my pros and cons section. The best thing that I like about this book is how it kind of forces you to make a decision, but it's not actually easy. Because see, the situation is so much worse because you feel for Kenna, but then you realize that she has done something really horrible, because she has kind of taken away the only son that these parents have. You actually feel for these parents, because of course it's not going to be very easy to forgive Kenna, because she is responsible for their son's death. So every situation is so difficult, and you also want Kenna to meet her daughter. But then again, these grandparents have actually taken care of this child for 5 years, and they do not have anybody else. DM, who is the daughter, is the only good thing that is in their life. And if Kenna takes that away too, then that is something that they will not be able to bear. You also see Ledger's situation. He was so close to Scotty, and then he died because of this girl. Even though he has never actually met her, he kind of hated him with everything that he has. But then he kind of actually ended up falling in love with her. So again, the situation is so difficult, and he's also very close to DM, who is like a daughter to him. And then he knows that if Kenna comes into their life, she will take her away, even though it was never Kenna's intention. She is a very good person. She did not actually want to take DM away. She even believes that she is actually in very good hands, so she did not actually want that. But not everyone knows that, not everyone is aware of that. So everyone just thinks that, assumes that she is going to take her away, and even if she does not, they have not actually forgiven her, so they do not actually want her to meet her daughter. But then again, the situation is so much worse that you just cannot decide who is right and wrong, because everyone is right. Nobody is actually wrong. They are right in the situation. There are these parents who can actually never forgive, because Scotty was their only son, and he was such a good son. He was such a great person. He was this bright light. But then Kenna kind of took him away. And you also feel for Kenna. It was not actually her fault, and she also lost the only good thing that she had in her life, and then she also lost her daughter. So again, this situation, and it makes you just everything so difficult for you, and you just cannot decide. You cannot just decide whose side you're on. And I really loved, I was feeling so conflicted and everything. I just loved all the emotion that I felt. I think it was just brilliantly done. The second thing that I liked about this book are the emotional scenes. Each and every emotional scene is so gut-wrenching that you just start to cry. Like, there's certain scenes that I actually had tears in my eyes, especially when there's a scene where Ledger finds out about Kenna, and this whole confrontation happens. I really love that scene. That's so emotional, and how everyone thinks about Kenna that way, and how everyone kind of misunderstands that, and how she's crying and begging and everything. I just love that scene. And again, there's one scene where she wants to see her daughter, but she cannot. She chased down this car and everything, but she cannot just see her daughter. I really, felt her helplessness. Then there are letters, and especially there's this one letter where she describes what actually happens at the accident spot, and every single detail and everything that happened. I mean, just the situation is so much worse that it makes you feel so much worse. That scene was done too well, and even the ending was done very well. I mean, it was written well. There's a certain issues that I have with it. Colleen Hoover has done an amazing job with this book. I love when a book destroys me, and if it can make me cry, I just fall in love with that book. I think I'm in a toxic relationship with this one. Talking about relationship, I really enjoyed the romance between Kenna and Ledger. P.S. I really like the name Ledger. I think it was very interesting and unique. There's this instant connection between Ledger and Kenna. The moment that Ledger sees Kenna, he instantly falls in love with her. Ledger in this book is kind of a rescuer of Kenna, because there has been so many bad things that has happened to Kenna, and there's not much that she can do. She does not have money. Even though she comes to live in this town, she does not have any money. So he kind of gives her a job. And then Ledger also kind of becomes the bridge between Scotty's parents and Kenna. He's the only link between Kenna and her daughter. So he kind of comes as a rescuer, but not like in an entitled hero kind of a way. There are many steamy scenes between both of them, and I actually enjoyed it. I absolutely loved their kissing scene and everything when that everything happens. I think that was very well written. I really enjoyed that too. It was a perfect combination. On one hand, we have Kenna, who has been dealt a very bad hand, and on the other hand, we have Ledger, who has everything that she does not have: a good luck and a loving family. Now let's talk about things that this book did not actually do well in. The first and foremost is the ending. I think the ending was a little bit rushed. There's certain decision that was taken way too quickly. I thought maybe it would have needed a little bit more time, because it was such a difficult choice to make. So I thought maybe it would have taken a little bit longer. It needed a little bit more angst, but that did not happen. So that is something where this book actually falters. The second thing that bothered me about this book was the insta love again, because Ledger was too trusting very fast. I mean, this girl was responsible for the death of Scotty, and he kind of forgave her way too easily. I mean, he has been with DM and Scotty's parents for 5 years now, but Kenna just walks into this town, and I see that her situation is worse and everything, but still he kind of started, fall in love with her too instantly. He just, for him, everything just got way too instantly. He was way too trusting of Kenna. He should have, taken more time with her. He should have not been too quick to judge and everything. I do not know. For his decision kind of felt rash to me, because this whole situation is so sensitive and so complicated. Sometimes his acts or something just did not make sense to me. I do not have any faults with this book, because I really enjoyed everything about this one. I really love the chemistry. I really love the story. I really love the emotional dilemma that this book have. Everything, the letters, Scotty, the characters, everything I think was well done in this book. That is why for me this book is 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. That is why I'm gonna start It Ends With Us. I do want to give that book a try too, and if it is half as good as this one, I think I'm really gonna love it. Do let me know in the comments down below what you think of this book, and what is your favorite book of Colleen Hoover, and if you have any recommendation for me. And of course, do not forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you like this video. I will see you next time. Take care.